morning. So I am Aoife Behan.
And I'm Carol Soutar.
We are Jelly and Gin, and as Alex said, we create unforgettable edible adventures. But essentially what we are, we're a creative agency that specialises in brand communication through the creation of food and drink events. We have been working together for 3.5 years now. So initially we were collaborating with each other, and then we became a formal business in September 2012.
So obviously collaboration is, it plays a part in one form and another on practically every project we do. And we're going to talk about our Create project in a little while. We'll talk about the role of collaboration in that model and how that's evolved as our business has evolved. Here we go. The other thing I'd like to acknowledge as well is that by working together, our business is a collaboration. Both Aoife and I come from really different business backgrounds. Aoife's background is in policy and strategy, and mine is in creative advertising and design. So we have really different but complementary skill sets, and our personalities and thought processes are really different as well. So kind of coming together is a really unique collaboration, and it's taken us on a journey that we would never be on if we were working as individuals.
So as Carol said, we're going to talk about one of our projects, Create in a short while, but what we thought it would be quite helpful to do is give you some context to the work that we actually do. So we're just going to quickly run through a few slides. We won't go into too much detail about individual projects, but if you do want to have a look, you can either chat to us later today or come and visit us, or have a look at our website, which is jellyandgin.com. So this is one of our events that we did in December. It was a multi-sensory cinema experience, and it took place in the National Gallery of Scotland. And what we did was we matched moments in films with food and drink items. So we've got a little picture of the audience with their picnic boxes having their food. This event here is the National Library of Scotland. We designed a food and drink event based around the John Murray archive, so taking inspiration from literary works like of Jane Austen, Byron, Walter Scott, Washington Irving. Google is one of our clients. We have worked with them in Edinburgh, Manchester and London. We've created a range of different experiences. This one is one that took place in the Signet Library last year. It was an indoor picnic. And in April of this year, we were really lucky to be invited to go to New York for Scotland Week. We brought along an edible exhibition called A Taste of Scotland. And that was a really exciting experience for us. So, as Carol said, collaboration is core to what we do. But we wanted to unpick that a bit more before talking about specific projects. And I know it's a total cliche, but when we were asked to speak on this subject, the first thing I did was like, I think I know what it means. I better make sure, so I'm going to look it up in the dictionary. And what it says in the dictionary, that collaboration is the action of working with someone to produce something. But that felt like a really unsatisfactory definition for us, and that's a definition of teamwork, or it's the kind of activity that takes place in businesses across the land every single day. And collaboration for us is far more meaningful. So I thought, well, you know, I'm going to do a little bit more research, so spent some time looking on the internet and found some brilliant displacement reading and sites like Munchies and Vice, and eventually came across some articles about children and play and the importance of play. And when I started reading about the characteristics of play, I thought actually there's a lot that resonated with me a lot more than that original definition of collaboration. So the characteristics of play are things like it's self-chosen, it's imaginative, and it requires an alert and active mind that's not stressed. So is collaboration like play? To some extent it is, because collaboration is not a thing, it's a process, it's a state of being. So the process is as important as the end point. Play is hugely important for children, so it nurtures their creative development, it teaches them how to build relationships, and it helps them develop problem-solving skills. But we don't lose that need as we grow, but we lose the opportunities to play. So, you know, we have jobs and we become task-focused and we become time-poor. But we think that bringing a playful aspect to our work is really important, particularly because we're asking people along and asking them to enjoy themselves at the events and the experiences that we produce. So what we're doing with Creative Collaborations is we're trying to bring creativity and playfulness and ensure that they permeate every aspect of the work that we're doing. So why do we collaborate? It's a lot of work because you're adding a lot more relationships into the mix, and there has been occasions where we've gone, well, it would be much easier if just the two of us get on and do this ourselves. But we collaborate because creativity thrives when there's diversity, and even when that diversity leads to tension, it leads to a better end product. So through creative collaboration, what you're doing is you're building something that otherwise would not be built. So we've been going, as I said, 3.5 years, and we've developed, our business has developed, and so has our approach to creative collaboration. It's really evolved in that time. So we thought, rather than kind of, we thought the best way of demonstrating that would be to talk about a particular project that was very collaborative. It's called Create to Eat. We first did it in 2012, and its most recent iteration took place in 2015.
So yeah, Create to Eat from the outset was all about collaboration. It was at the very start of Jelly and Jim's partnership. We'd done a couple of projects together, but we were looking to do something that was a bit more experimental and innovative. So we had this idea, and we knew that there were loads of people in Edinburgh doing really interesting things, and we had this idea to put a call out and see if anybody would be interested in working with us on a project. So we put a call out, and using social media, we were really overwhelmed by the response that we got. We ended up working with 25 really talented people. We had very different relationships with those various collaborators. Some of the collaborators we were really hands-off with, but others we worked really closely with. We crowdsourced the collaborators, but what we also did was we crowdfunded a bit of finance for the project back before Kickstarter had even launched in the UK. So this is the little film that we made. It was my first ever attempt at iMovie, and yeah, the voiceover artist wasn't great, but
we have an idea. We want to stage a one-off dining event in Edinburgh, a feast for the mouth, eyes and mind. A meal where everyone at the table has made a unique contribution. In May, we put out a call for collaborators, and we've been blown away by the talent coming to join us around the table, from chefs and graphic designers to cocktail creators and chocolatiers. Now we have the ingredients of an incredibly exciting night, but we need your help. £100 will buy your seat at the table and your very own crest. £20 and this groovy canvas bag is yours. One lucky bag contains a pair of tickets to the event on the 19th of October. Nice! Your pledge will allow us to pay for the production costs and expenses involved in staging an event of this scale. You'll also help us further along our path to creating more exciting events. This is just the beginning.
It was just the beginning. I think honestly neither of us had a clear idea of what that event would end up like. The approach to collaboration was hugely optimistic. It was a case of let's just throw everything at it and see what sticks. But the event was a really big success, and it built our profile as people who were doing something unique. And because it was cross-sector, we were included in the list's Hot 100 of cultural contributors in 2012. Financially, however, it didn't work at all as a model. So what next? We got on with some paid jobs, and then we were asked if we would like to do a whisky event as part of Whisky Month in 2014. So we had to think about, how could we approach whisky differently, and we decided that the creative model was so far away from anything that was being done in whisky that it would be a really good idea to use that to create something interesting. We'd learned on the first project that having a clear brief from the outset was really important, and also defining the roles of the collaborators involved was really important too. So, get my clicker, get my GIF going. So we had very specific skills in mind when we looked for our collaborators on this project. And finding the right people to work on the project can take an idea into really unexpected places. We wanted to create a much more immersive event with this one, using sound and moving image. So we ended up with doing a really kind of meaningful collaboration with a sound artist, Jan Sejnik, and moving graphics guy, Eric Ravalia, and together we developed the concept, keeping whisky at the very heart. So we went off to the whisky distillery and recorded all the sounds, and they formed the soundscape for the actual event. But we also made this film, which I'm just going to show you
now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Isla. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the aircraft has come to a complete stop and the fasten seatbelt sign at the front of the cabin has been pushed forward.
crowdsourced images of the event itself. Which brings us on to 2015, the next part.
Yeah. So so we've done 2 events at this stage, the 2012 and the 2014 one, neither of which could be called lucrative in any way possible. But what they did demonstrate was that we were thinking about whisky and food pairings with whisky in a completely different way. And we also got quite a lot of publicity out of doing those 2 events, and we had built a really great network of collaborators, and this resulted in some brands becoming quite interested in working with us. And that changed the dynamic of the 2015 event. So this is our last film. This is the most recent event, and this will just give you a feel for how that looked with some brand sponsorship on board.
And slightly higher production values. That the event actually happened in this space. We did lots of work to transform it, and also Jan Sejnik, who had been the collaborator on last year's Creative Whiskey, was very much involved in this year's one.
Yeah, so I see we're changing it as we go. Yeah, so the brand wanted to be involved with us because the first two events kind of really demonstrated our creative approach, and they wanted a bit of that energy in an event that they were sponsoring. But it changed things for us. I mean, we had to be a lot more structured in our approach to the way that project was managed, because we had targets that we had to meet. What we had, you'll see across the project, so a lot of the collaborators like Jan ended up working as suppliers. So the other two people were the guys from Mothership Events who did the collaborated with us on the cocktails for the first Creati back in 2012. We were now in a contractor-supplier relationship for the 2015 event. But because we'd spent time building that kind of playful, collaborative relationship, it was a far more rich experience working with them rather than the kind of usual transactionary experience that you might have between a contractor and a supplier. So yeah, it definitely, those early days of collaborating definitely helped us in move forward. So we've been doing collaborations for 3.5 years now, well probably more, but explicitly as Jelly and Gin for 3.5 years. And we now think that we can kind of identify fairly early on if a collaboration is going to work effectively. And we think there are 6 kind of characteristics of a fruitful and successful collaboration. So the first and really important one is that it's attraction. you have to really quite fancy professionally your collaborators. You have to like what they're doing, and they have to like what you're doing. And then there has to be openness. So you have to create an environment where people feel that they can express their opinions, and it's a healthy environment where there's constructive criticism and communication doesn't break down. Power is also quite important, and what we found is a level structure works best, so that no one collaborator has more influence over the others. But that you still need an eye on execution. So we can feel if it's our name above the door in a project, it's our responsibility to drive forward. So if there isn't consensus on a decision, we need to have ways of driving that forward. But that doesn't mean it's driving it forward under our agenda. It's just having a way of making sure that the project is executed. And it's about building relationships. So as the collaboration progresses, you're building a better relationship. When we can spend time building a relationship with a collaborator, we're hoping that it's not just a one-off experience, that we will work with them again in the future. So it's really important to put that kind of relationship building into play. Managing expectations is really important too. So everyone needs to understand what the big picture is, and they need to understand what their role is in delivering the big picture, because things can really fall down if you don't manage people's expectations. And on the kind of flip side of that is that you need to have a process for resolving conflict when it does arrive. 99.9% of the time we've had really fruitful, productive collaborations, and but things have gone wrong on a few occasions, very few occasions, but they're really difficult when they do go wrong. What has happened is there's been a communication breakdown. So you're working with a collaborator and they take an idea and run off with it over the hills in a direction that you weren't expecting and don't tell you what's happening. And that becomes really difficult to manage. But you can come back from that situation if that arises. It doesn't necessarily mean the end of the collaboration, it just means tricky conversations need to be had. There's also been issues with power, and when we're talking about power, I don't mean somebody becoming an incredible bully and power crazed. This is something a little bit more tacit, so it's about things that can create power imbalances. So if two organisations are collaborating and one of them is much bigger than the other, that leads to this kind of unspoken imbalance which can kind of damage a collaboration. So one of the things that we found is that we have a kind of contact sheet on our website, and on a kind of fairly regular basis we get emails in from much larger organisations saying, we would love to collaborate with you on whatever. And when we unpick that with them, what we find is they want us to take all the risk on a project and essentially work for them for free, but they want us to do what they want us to do. So we have got very savvy at identifying that, and there are quite sophisticated emails that come in, but we're getting quite good at kind of not falling into that trap, even if it is going to be amazing PR for us. So we try and avoid that situation. I think probably one of the most difficult things that has happened to us on a collaboration when there has been a complete breakdown of trust. And that has happened because we realised very early on into the process that the collaborator didn't fancy us, they fancied our client. So that attraction wasn't there. Their agenda was not about working with us, it was about them getting access to our client, which pushed us into protectionist mode, and this whole issue of turf wars came up, and that is really horrible. So having those discussions around expectations early on in a collaboration is really, really important. So you need to know what people's agendas are.
So that's a little bit of our experience of collaboration. At the start of the event, you were asked what qualities do you look for in a potential collaborator. So now we'd like to hear from you. And I think I'm going to put up that slide, and then that's the end of our talk.
So anyone want to talk about collaboration? Yes.
I'd like to say that you got me to change my badge. So I'd written, what are you looking for? So I'd looking for like minds. But actually I've changed it to looking for unlike minds, and I totally get the point about the creative tension in something, and it's just so much more productive. I think when we're here, getting different disciplines, artistic or design disciplines in together, it's the tension that creates the more unique and interesting and engaging project, so totally get that.
Yeah, yeah. I think Carol kind of touched on it, like even when we're working, we are coming from really different perspectives. If we both thought the same way, I don't think it would be as productive and fruitful, so I think it is important.
Although the one thing about that is, there's something about a like mind that is progressive and forward.
Yeah.
So there's it's not completely, you don't want to, in the personality type, I think you want someone creatively in tune with you, but actually from a different film.
I think it's about shared values, and it's all the basics of human relationships.
Like self, I think creative opposition of creative difference is really interesting when you go into collaboration. But as your work gets better known and brands that want to collaborate with you, are they starting to bring expectations around what you're going to deliver, and does that still allow you the space to kind of do what you want to do creatively? How are you managing that?
Yeah, we have very clear client contractor relationships with brands now. So yes, we personally will have to deliver, and they do have clear expectations. But what we try to do is build in enough time so we can have those rich collaborations. And I mean, we can't do it on all projects. I mean, that's the honest answer. But we try and build it in as much as we can. But yeah, it's like people don't hand over money and go, oh, just do what feels good.
You spoke earlier about play and the importance of play. So when it comes to working with collaborators, how do you engender that sense of play, or are there particular things you do to go, all right, let's just, I don't know, roll with this, or yeah.
I don't think we have a particular formula that we use. My background is working in advertising agencies, and I've spent years and years working with a creative partner and working with a copywriter, lots of different copywriters in fact, so it's really part of my working process to work with somebody else, and I think I bring that experience to projects and working with lots of different, this time I'm working with lots of different disciplines. But I mean, I think it's about your kind of frame of mind and being open to listening to what other people have to say, and leaving your ego at the door as well, and kind of not being afraid to say something silly or rubbish, because you might have a really bad idea, but there might be one really small kind of grain of something amazing that you can't see but the other person does, and that's where that kind of process of collaboration really works. It's about kind of having that ability, having somebody else there to kind of see the potential in small things. I don't know if that answered
your question. Thank you.
I'm a copywriter looking for a designer, as it turns out. So I'm in the process, the first time I've ever done this, I'm starting business for the first time, and I've always worked for companies. But in a way, I'm looking for a collaborator. It's basically also an employee. I want to pay somebody to help me set up my business. Do you think that the process of going about hiring someone, essentially, is that the same as a collaborator, or is that a different sort of side of things? So I mean, I found someone I think is great, and they seem to be passionate about what they do, and they seem to have a shared vision and values. But how do I know that they're the right person to hand my money on to.
Yeah, that's really tricky.
I think that's different. I think you're becoming someone's boss, and you probably need to. So because that's that thing about power imbalance. If you're responsible for someone else's paycheck, then you've got more power, even if you're being, so there's that. But I mean, you can have, you can be collaborative as an individual, but yeah, I think for a really genuine collaboration, the power has to be, people have to feel really comfortable with, criticism, and that there won't be any kind of knock-on impact of that. And yeah, so sorry, but that's my opinion. I don't know, other people may have completely different opinions.
I really love this notion of fancying someone professionally, and where all the projects would probably be a lot better if we did. Make sure that we did fancy each other. I was wondering, when you see this sort of power struggle of equal input, and you see that one's starting to gain over the other, is there anything like sort of ways of pulling that back and coming back to the brief, basically?
I think it's always about coming back to the brief. I have that real discipline of working to very, very tight briefs, and we've got a lot more freedom in the projects that we do, because whilst we're sometimes working for clients, we can tweak as we're going along. But the power imbalance, if there's a client who's paying the bills, they have to be answered to, to a certain extent. It's a constant struggle.
But I mean, in the kind of creative collaborations that we do, it's about that kind of human relationships thing, and that you kind of, if you've had that expectation management discussion at the start about big goal, and if everyone understands that this is what we're trying to achieve, then we hopefully shouldn't get to a point where there's a deadlock, because essentially it's not about, as Carol said, it's not about egos, it's about actually delivering the goal. So.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, that was amazing.